Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I don't have a vlog for you. Shocker, I know. I only ever do vlogs, it seems. However, today I wanted to talk about like every book I've read this far into the year, or to the end of April, like the first third of the year. I haven't been reading a lot, which is kind of sad. I know why. I've been very distracted with some other stuff. I'm like on a health thing right now, and anyways, not important, but I just haven't been reading as much, so I think I can get through a majority of these books pretty quickly. Some have already been in a vlog. We'll start with January. The first book that I did read this year was When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill. This is a alternate history, like feminist, like woman focused novel. I don't want to get too much into like summaries here. I don't want the video to get long, but it's this alternate history where women turn into a bunch of dragons, and there's like a lot of discussions on like women's place in society, and I did like it. I like some of the talks about it. At some point I did get like the point, like maybe halfway through, like I understood the theme and like what the author was trying to say with this like metaphor. I do think that it felt a little like a letdown. Not that our main character wasn't an amazing or like an interesting person to read from, but at the end of the day, when it was all said and done, I was like, why do we follow this character and not her sister? Something like that. But it was fine. If you're interested in this like concept, give it a try and see if you like it more than I did. I ended up giving this one like 3.5. After that, I read this horror novel, Don't Fear the Reaper, the first book in the series, which was My Heart is a Chainsaw, one of my favorite books last year. I absolutely love the main character. I cry thinking about her a lot. In this book, I gave it, I think, a 4-star. I might lower to a 3.5. Not that this wasn't like good or anything, but I thought the focus strayed a little too much from our main character, who is like the main reason why I love the first book so much. And this particular story, the conflict, not that it wasn't good, it just I wasn't as engaged with it as I thought I would be. But I'm so looking forward to the third one and seeing the relationship between certain characters grow. I also really liked, no spoilers, how the events of the first book still kind of are a part of our main characters' lives. This takes place like a couple years, I think, after the events of the first book. So I like that, holding on to trauma and seeing how our characters grow from that and how they still kind of hold on to that. I really like that part. This next book was a bit of a surprise for me. I picked it up because I wanted to read more, and I tend to get distracted in the evening and I watch like TikToks and stuff, but I was like, no, let me read some Kindle Unlimited books. I got Kindle Unlimited again, and I got The Dragon Ring, or Guinevere the Dragon Ring by Phil Reid. This, I was in the mood to read romance, and I was like, you know what, historical romance with the hints of fantasy would be fine for me. I love a historical romance, and this is like an alternate take on Guinevere from like the Arthurian legends. I'm not like a 100% like, I don't know everything about that story. I know broad strokes of the myths, so the accuracy of this might not be like 100%. That's fine with me. But in this, we follow a character who goes back in time. She's Guinevere, and Merlin tells her like, oh, you are like the Guinevere, and like together we're gonna help Arthur become like the person that he is. I ended up really liking this. I liked seeing Guinevere. I liked the relationship that formed here. I don't know how the story's gonna progress, but I am interested. Like, it was really fun. Yeah, I gave it like 4 stars. You can tell that this is obviously written by someone who is very fond of their local history. Don't know exactly where this author's from, but they're obviously from, I want to say England, but they're obviously British, and they have a lot of love for that local history, geography. They use a lot of terms that are not familiar to me, being someone from South Texas, and I don't know like history or the micro landscape of over yonder there. So I will continue on. I did actually get the second book. I read this originally on my Kindle and I ended up buying it, so yeah. And then I read Wild Sign by Patricia Briggs. This is the 6th, I'm not sure which number, but this is one of the books in the Alpha and Omega series. I'm pretty much caught up with the entirety of the Mercy Thompson Alpha and Omega main books. I haven't read a lot of the short stories. I'll probably just buy that big bind up that was released semi-recently. I love this series. I love Patricia Briggs's universe. It's one of my favorite series of all time. I talk about it all the time. I don't want to get too much into it, but the romance between these two is like, I need romantic authors to like read the greats. I need them to like read these older like 80s, 90s. I know this was technically like recently published, but like the books Patricia Briggs started publishing earlier. I need them to read these romance books and see what like makes them work. And it's not always like saucy, like spicy shit, which don't get me wrong is fine, but it's so good. And this one we read from different characters that I hadn't really cared for much. Introduced to new characters. I really love this. I can't really go into it because it's like book 6 and there's like a ton of books that have been published at this point, but I loved it. After that, read The Ruins. I think I talked about this in a vlog. I did not like this book that much. Looking back on it, I did give it like 3.5. I would sit at a 3 right now. Horror novel. I didn't really get the point at the end of it all. Like if it's just like, oh, bad things happen to people and that's it. I don't know, some books like that I don't really care for. Not every story needs to have this big grand moral and whatever, but just this one particular, I don't know, something about this was just kind of a bit of a letdown. At the end of it all, it just really seemed like we were just waiting for things to end. I don't want to spoil anything, but I got nothing at the end of this. I didn't really come away with a new perspective on anything, which I don't have to, but even when I read a book and I don't agree with some things that happen, I at least am thinking about what happened. In this one, it ends and I'm like, well, okay, whatever. After that, I read The Boneheart by Ivy Warren. This one completely surprised me. This is another Kindle Unlimited that I was reading towards like in my evenings right before bed. I read this one pretty much in like 2 sittings. I really love this. It's like a sapphic fantasy pirate story with like a hint of fantasy. I want more from this author. I do think that they're, at least the pen name that they worked on under, which I'm assuming is a pen name, doesn't have much, so I'm eagerly waiting for the next book, but it's okay if they take their time. Indie authors, you don't have to publish a new book every like 3 to 6 months. It's okay, but I really enjoyed this one. It is a little bit of enemies to lovers. I was gonna put it down because there was some like bully-ish content earlier in the book, and I was like, ooh, like I don't know, that's like for me, but I kept with it. I really enjoyed this one. If you're looking for like pirate, lesbian, pirate ship, enemies to lovers, whatever, I actually really enjoyed this one. Then I read Can't Spell Treason Without T. This is a fantasy sapphic story that I didn't really love. I liked the beginning, I liked the end, I liked the bonus chapter that was added in when this was traditionally published, but the middle was kind of a dull thing. This is supposed to be cozy. I feel like I talked about it in a vlog, but there was just so many things going on that it did no longer qualify as cozy for me. I talk about that Legends and Lattes book in the vlog where I read this, and I talked about how in that one there was very little conflict, and I was okay with that. Like, I don't need a huge thing to drive the story forward. I do think an author is perfectly capable of just like writing a slice of life with very little conflict, and the story will be fine. And I wish the author did that with this, but there's like dragons and magic like battles and like people getting sick or whatever. So it was okay. I gave it like 2.53 stars. I don't think I'll buy the next books, at least full price, which I did pay for this full price. Also on Kindle Unlimited, I picked up Golden Ruin by Emma Kennedy, also a very new author. I didn't really see much of a backlist because I really wanted to read more from them. This is a like Western sci-fi. I don't know exactly what time period it takes place in. I'm guessing like futuristic, alternate history or alternate universe, because there's like this weird like political thing going on with like Canada, and it's like a kind of cyberpunk vibe as well. There's like a single company that pretty much takes care of or handles like people's housing, employment, body modifications, and health statuses, and they're pretty much in control of everything. Our main character is very sick, and she's trying to find alternative medicine to like deal with her problem, and she has to go to California, which is pretty much like not a part of like the United States. I don't even know if it's considered the United States at this point. Doesn't matter. It is a sapphic story, and she goes to California to do like labor work, and she meets a woman. It's a romance. I was very emotional towards the end of the story. If you've read this book, or you will read this book, the ending kind of like hit me like a truck a little bit. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. This is one that I want to pick up like a physical copy. The next book I read after that was The Secret Service, or Secret Service by Bauer. I've been wanting to read from this author for a while. I need the physical book for this. This is also a romance. This is a male romance, and we follow the head of the Secret Service falling in love with like the newly elected president. It's a very sweet story. It's like dual timeline. We see them meeting for the first time, and then the present timeline, there's a bit of like a political thriller storyline. So if you are not about like a bit of action, this might not be for you, but I actually really enjoyed it. I do think that at some point for like the story and the romance to happen, there's probably some bending of like protocol that is like not really what is done in our world, but for the sake of the story, to make things work, sure, we'll suspend our disbelief when it comes to certain things that the Secret Service may or may not do to like protect and ensure the safety of the active president. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really beautiful story. I think the author does a really good job at like writing emotions and like having those emotions like connect to the reader, which is kind of hard sometimes. I don't emotionally feel connected to couples in romance stories a lot, but I really did like this one. I gave it like 4 stars. I should mention that this story was published before Russia did invade Ukraine, and there is Russia invading Ukraine in this story, just so you know that the author's not like using that violence as like a plot point for the story. It's how things planned out in our real world. After that, I read Except the Dying. I got this book from my library. It's the first book in the Murdoch mystery series, which I've been wanting to read for a while because I've seen the TV show. This was also in a vlog. The TV show is very lighthearted and almost like not cottagecore vibe, but it's very like cozy and cutesy to me, which I do enjoy from time to time. This one is not as cute and cozy. I still liked it. I gave it like 3.5 stars. This one is a little more like straightforward and like blunt with some of the topics. It's a mystery series. We follow a detective and he solves mysteries like in a very like mystery traditional way. There's not a lot of like thriller elements. It's like a straight mystery for the most part. I liked it. I like seeing the differences between the TV show and the book. For some things, I'm not very strict on like it has to be like a 1-to-1 copy. I understand why some things get changed, especially for television. I liked it. I do think that the author did a good job at like trying to make this as authentic to 1880s or 1890s Canada. I read War Queen by Jordyn Alexander. This is a fantasy romancy orc romance. I was just in the mood for this one. I gave it like 3 stars. It's not bad. Maybe a 2.5 might be a bit better. This story is about a queen whose shitty husband, the king, dies, and to like maintain peace, she marries the king of the orcs. It was cutesy. I wish there was just like more emotional connection between me and like the story and between the two characters. There is talks about marriage between orcs and humans, and I didn't really love some of the conversations that were happening there. I'm not saying that the author was doing anything problematic, and they did kind of address some of the issues that I had within the context of the story, but just I don't know. I understand that like arranged marriages are a part of a lot of people's lives, but the way it came out here was very like unfun. I don't know how else to say it, but just it wasn't for me. For the last vlog I did, I also reread Annihilation by Vandermeer. This is the second time I've read this book. The first time nothing went into my head. This time around, I totally grasped what was happening a lot more. It's just a weird, trippy sci-fi story with like Mother Earth sci-fi story. I guess you can also maybe say there's like horror elements, but I like this one. I want to continue on with the story. I know that the writing's not going to be for everyone. It's a bit like detached. It's not very emotional, though there are like emotional moments in this book. I liked it. It's obviously very short and you can get through it quickly, but I don't think you should like speed read this. I think you really need to sit down and like totally understand like what's going on, because it's weird. It's just like weird I'll give it like 4 stars. I don't know what I gave it the first time I read it. After that, I read Sourdough by Robin Sloan. I don't typically pick up literary, general fiction, contemporary stories, but I wanted to for that last vlog I did, and I thought this was cute. I thought it was adorable. I thought it was sweet, but not like too sweet that I wouldn't enjoy it. I guess like the whole, I do think that the author did a good job at like holding on to that theme of, you know, like do what makes you happy, I guess. This does kind of remind me of Legends and Lattes in that like for the most part there really isn't much conflict. Like yeah, there's like some moments of like, I don't want to say bickering, but there's some moments of like, oh, like what's gonna happen next, but for the most part it was very chill. Maybe there's some things at the end that were kind of weird. Also not fantasy, I would never say it's fantasy, but there's some moments where I was kind of just like, is this really happening? Am I reading the words on the book correctly? But it's adorable. I would say that it's a very adorable book. It's a quirky book. If you're like a quirky person and you like quirky things, this would be a good contemporary general fiction to try out. My dog is snoring so loud. Anyways, the last book to talk about is Spellbound. It's the last book in this bind up by Cate Tiernan. I always think it's worth it to have an old series that you liked as a child or something that you would have read while you were younger to kind of ground what you're currently reading. So the Swoop series, I know I've read one of the books in this series. It was not the first one. Will I ever remember? No, but I know I've read at least one of the books in the series when I was like a teen. It is a very teeny YA witchy story. I always think of it as like one of my CW stories, and by that I mean like a book series when you read, I'm like, oh, this would be perfect on the CW, specifically that era of the CW. I mean that like affectionately. I love a lot of TV shows that have come from the CW, even though they're not like peak television like masterpieces. They're very charming and they're very soapy and they're very entertaining, and I think they do what they do effectively, and this is that kind of series. Again, very dramatic boyfriend drama, friend drama, family drama. Our main character is like a nice good girl, goes to like Catholic church with her family, and then like someone comes to town and is like, hey, like I'm Wiccan, do you want to join my like Wicca like circle? If you are Wicca, maybe don't read the series because I don't think it's, I wouldn't know, but maybe it's not particularly accurate in its telling of like Wicca culture or whatever. I wouldn't know, but she finds out that she's a lot more than what she thought she was, and it's a cute story. It's teen, it's very teen, very tropey, but I enjoy it. It's fun. Yeah, I think that's it. It's not a lot of books. I know my reading year has not been particularly hot, but maybe it'll get better during the summer when I don't want to leave the house because it's too hot. I live in South Texas. It's disgustingly hot and I hate it. And it was already hot in April. May, I can't finish that sentence. But yeah, that is everything that I've read so far this year. Let me know if you have any thoughts about what I've read. If you read these books, if you want to read these books, if you disliked any of these books, I'd like to hear anything you have to say down below in the comments. I will also link my social medias down below as well as some far more important links. Feel free to like, dislike, what was my ending? Feel free to like, dislike, comment, or subscribe, or do neither. It's all cool with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.